Hello, what up, what up, what up, everyone? This is Damien,
What's going on? It's so soon.
and we are the framework where we bring reason and logic to the barbershop. Um, First off, we want to thank everybody for their support on our previous episode. We did a framework flowers where we basically gave our flowers and celebrated DMX by doing the top 10 DMX songs under our patented framework. Um, how was that for you, so soon?
It was an enjoyable experience. We had already discussed DMX in the past prior to his passing, and to kind of circle back and talk about him now in his, for lack of better words, afterlife, and really celebrate his music and just go through the process of listening to songs that were beyond just his album was like super exciting, and creating that list. And so far, we've had, for the most part, positive feedback on what people thought about the list. So if you haven't seen the episode, you can go and find it on our YouTube page, The Framework, and watch the playback. And we really genuinely appreciate your support if you do so.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. So this week in hip hop, we don't know what you've all been up to, but please let us know in the comments. We actually shot a reaction video to a song off of Nas's newest album called King's Disease 2. He did a song called Nobody featuring Miss Lauryn Hill, and it got us thinking, right? Thinking about something that we've all talked about at some way, some different times in our lives and in music. But we started to talk about the top women MCs in hip hop, or the top women in hip hop generally. And that really kicked off a conversation that can go really deep. So when we think about hip hop, right, we think about the elements, we think about the originators, and one of the things that sometimes gets left out, not all the time, it are the women who influenced, who participated, who were in record stores buying records, learning to scratch and mix, who were getting on the mic and emceeing, rocking the crowd alongside some of the men who are notable. Um, who also the men who were getting ready, trying to get fresh, trying to put together the right songs and sets and rhymes, rapping to those same women who were a part of the hip hop culture and crowd and its origins. Sometimes they get messed. They sometimes they get mixed. Sometimes they get left behind. So one of the things that we definitely wanted to do is take this time to talk about the top women MCs in hip hop. But before we get into the framework aspect of it, we really want to talk to our audience and get how they feel and get some of their thoughts on the general understanding of what makes a great MC in general. So in the comments, if you can talk about what you think a great MC consists of, or what makes a great MC, or what certain attributes or things that you like when you listen to a woman in hip hop, and what they love, and what they bring to the table. So soon, you want to go to the comments and see what we got?
Well, folks are still joining in. Shouts to Tony for joining us. Tony INC, aka Tony Doms, Loretta Zone. Shouts to you, bro. We saw your list in the framework DM on IG. Thank you for that. You mentioned some MCs that certainly have come up in many of my conversations and on my own personal list. I believe you mentioned Kim, Rhapsody, a couple of other folks. So shouts to you, Loretta. Loretta's always ready for a good hip hop conversation, so we appreciate you. And yeah, like definitely let us know. Since while we're still waiting for people to jump in, Emanuela, hello back to you. My apologies. While we're waiting for people to chime in the chat, and we'll definitely highlight your comments on on the bottom of our screen. But I might as well tell a little bit about some of my favorite, or not so much. I'm not ready to tell you who my favorites are. You're not ready for that yet. But I will tell you a little bit that I look for an MC generally, women, male, otherwise. Bars, we're talking about MC. So the core of being an MC is that lyrical content, that capacity to demonstrate, you know, that you know how to say something and you can say it in a very clever way, or as we always define lyrics here at the framework, words on the page. Does it read as well if we just read it as when we hear it? And so that's a key element to being a dope MC. I think having a good flow, having versatility in flow is good. The ability to rap over different types of production, whether it be more kind of like traditional boom bap, whether it be more towards kind of new age stuff. And you may not have it to that you may not have to be able to rap over multiple types of beats to demonstrate it, but it's certainly a bonus when any MC can do some such a thing. So that's important. Um, Beats don't necessarily have a say in your abilities, but it certainly has a say in mine and other people when we listen. I don't know too many people who are willing to suffer through listening to whack beats, even if it has some of the dopest rhymes. So, that's important. It is important.
So
And that's just
are
a
you
couple of things.
saying you don't want to listen to nails on the chalkboard as if and even if somebody's spitting hot fire, they spitting the Dylon?
I hope that I'm pretty confident to say that I'm not alone when I to answer your question. No, I don't. I think you agree with that, as well as the people who are chiming in with us today. So
I promise you I wouldn't disagree with you. So I wanted to shout out Damon, Des does nails. What's up? How y'all doing? We're talking about the top women in hip hop. Shout out to Harry Talks Good, the homie Harry the homie. And we're just really getting into the question like what makes a great MC, And I think, that question, as you already reiterated, or you already stated that it's not based on gender, sex, identity, and things like that. It's just a thing. It's an art form. It's a skill. It's a talent. And I think craft, and I think that's really important. And the attributes you mentioned, lyrical content is always going to be important when it comes to hip hop, because I think the origin has a lot to do with people telling their story, sharing their creativity. You're sharing an aspect of you, your ability, your life, your truth, all of those things. So it usually comes from a very positive internal place, even when it's just having fun. Even when sometimes it's battling and dissing and back and forth, that is in many ways it was healthy competition for supremacy, for dominance. Oh, I'm the best. I got the best flow. And then it at some point it got a little bit let's say deeper into other things at different times in hip hop's history. But nothing's perfect, and I wouldn't even consider the more other aspects of it when it comes to battling and dissing necessarily a negative or a stain. It's just a part of the growing pains of things that happen as people invest in this very personal and internal art form. What's going on? So we have are we transitioning to some of these guests right now? Are we gonna keep talking? Let us know in the chat what you think makes a great MC. And then we're gonna bring in a guest to come and chat with us, and we're going to ask some questions that we want you in the comments to also feel as comfortable as you want to say whatever you want. We here to have the conversation. This is our barbershop segment. We in the shop, we talking. Who do you like? Who you don't like? What you like about them? Who's better, who's not. Would you like to introduce our first guest, sir?
indeed, indeed. So I've been knowing this gentleman for a little bit of time now. He is a dope MC out of Dirty Jersey, and I say dirty in the nicest and cleanest of ways. Shouts to New Jersey for bringing to us some of the dopest MCs in hip hop history and of current, and this is none the exception. So without further ado, please welcome to the framework, True Words. True
Yo, yo,
Words,
yo,
thank you for
yo.
joining us, homie. How you doing today?
Everything cool, everything cool.
That's what's up. I
Mhm.
don't want to put all your business on blast, but I know you celebrated two really amazing things, a birthday and a new home. So first, happy belated birthday, and second,
Hey,
congratulations
hey.
on being
I
a
appreciate
homeowner.
I
We
appreciate that,
need
man. Still getting things together, man. Like you said, like I said, the microphone's not even where it's supposed to be. But slowly but surely.
It's a
right,
work in
right, right.
progress, right? We making it
Yeah.
happen. That's what we all in that situation. We just making it happen. So I don't know if you was able to catch the very beginning of the show, but we started off just talking about the topic, which is women in hip hop, and we gave a very, very, very tiny insight into the history and just the influence women have had in hip hop. And we're just talking about right now what makes a great MC, because obviously being a great MC is not bound by any identity, gender, sex, any of those things. It's just about that craft. It's about your skills, about your dedication, and about your as somebody said in the chat earlier, your proclivity to it. We gotta use the big words on them now. And I gotta double check who said that. Or shout
That
out
was
to
Loretta
Loretta's
Zoni.
Only.
He was
Loretta's
shouting out
Yeah,
Only
his
yeah,
for
yeah.
the
single that he put out a couple months ago. Heavy record. Shout out to him.
proclivity. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
proclivity. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think my insight on a good MC is the way you deliver your lyrics. Willing to adapt to like any beat that's thrown to you. That's that's important. You can catch the pocket. Always on beat, catching that pocket with the lyrics. I'm a lyrics guy. So if your lyrics is your pen game is great, then I'm listening 100%. You know what I'm saying? I'm not too much of a beat writer, like in a sense of like I this guy has a catchy beat. I like the song. I like what people are saying in their songs and the bars exactly. So
I'm with you. I think it's important to understand that was the I think that was the turning point in hip hop's like original state, when you started to see the MCs get on stage and really show out. Because it was originally about the DJ, it's about moving and mixing and all that stuff. But when the MC got on and they went crazy, it was like an entirely different experience. Now it was like, what is this? So I think lyrics will always be able to always needs to be respected and part of the discussion. Like you can never downplay lyrics. um Virtue doubles and triples, what is virtue talking about? Virtue, explain that. I want to know what that means. Are you talking about entendres? Are you talking about something related to production? He's a great producer. If you heard the little beat in not little if you heard the beat in the introduction, that was a beat that we got blessed with by King Virtue. Hit him up if you're a hip hop artist and you're looking for beats. He does some great stuff on IG. He's doing this series called 30 for 30 right now. But we talking to true words. Outside of lyrics, is there anything else that catches your attention? Was there a like a artist that you heard growing up that was like a woman that you were like, oh man, like did you hear that? Did you get that type of reaction? Was there a woman you was listening to when you were younger? Um,
No, not necessarily.
mm,
I wasn't really listening into like the women side of it, but some really caught my eye, like MC Light, especially Lauren Hill and Queen Latifah. I mean, I
mm.
can't leave her out. You understand what I'm saying? Besides that, you have the Salt and Peppers and stuff like that, but the Queen Latifahs and MC Lights and the Lauren Hills, they're special, very special.
Nice,
And you
nice.
just mentioned Lauren Hill, and so one of the questions we opened up, I'm not sure if you were chimed in at this point into the show yet, but we opened up briefly talking about Miss Lauren Hill's verse on Nobody from Nas's King's Disease 2, which we have a review from the framework that we're going to be dropping this coming Friday. So make sure y'all be on the lookout for that. But True, I wanted
Yes.
to ask you, have you heard the verse? And if so, what were your thoughts on
No, I haven't heard the verse yet,
it?
but I will.
Ooh.
Don't you ruin it for me. Hold on. I gotta check it out for real.
If I told you our opinion, then not only would I ruin it for you, I'd kind of potentially take away viewers from our reaction video. So I promise you, you will have to wait.
Don't fuck
Hopefully,
up
by
the
the time you watch,
Yes,
we'll have
yes, sir.
already
Yes,
seen the
sir.
reaction
don't fuck up the
video.
algorithm. Don't mess it up. Don't mess up the algorithm. We need those views. We need those likes and comments. But
Facts,
so
facts.
yeah, okay. So are there any women you're listening to now?
Yeah, I mean a whole lot of women right now. To be honest, I have my own list of dope MCs of my own that I like. I would like to name some if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, please do.
First, Ciroc. I don't know if you heard of Ciroc.
Hmm.
Second is Invincible. You ever heard of Invincible?
No, I
Okay.
haven't. We
You
learning.
ever heard of Beans?
Spell
Beans
the
got
name.
bars. Beans got bars.
I think on IG.
Yeah, she's, I mean, she's everywhere right now.
Okay,
She's everywhere right now.
I might have,
Okay,
and I might
that's
need to
a,
be reminded.
yeah. I respect her very, very much. Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Okay. And another one, Sampa the Great. You ever heard of Sampa the Great?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And then I got a
Yep.
couple more, man. I got a whole playlist of like mad MCs, like female MCs, nothing but female MCs all the way
That's
through. I
fire.
mean, I could just keep naming Jean Grey.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Angel Hayes, Saya. You know, I could keep going, man. It's just
Yes.
ridiculous. I mean, I'm talking about lyrics. I'm talking about lyricism. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
No, none of this.
And
I'm showing this and I'm showing that. I've got to show a little piece of booty here and there.
respect.
None of that. None of that.
Respect. So I wanted to go to a couple of comments. I'm gonna read one. You grab a few as well. So soon. Emmanuel JP. A great MC is someone who can use words in an artful way to share a message about anything, and is able to keep the audience's attention while evoking feelings, no matter what they are. I really like that definition. We might have to steal that. I'm just saying. No, I'm joking. You have any comments that you saw that you wanted to highlight so soon?
I want to highlight them all, and I'll do that really quickly. Several people mentioned Queen Latifah, including Des Does Nail. Shouts to you. I see you, sis. Saw many mentions of Rod Digger, who I will say out loud that that was one of my personal favorites growing up as a fan of Flip Mode. So shouts to Busta and then putting that together and exposing me to Rod Digger, which then exposed me to Outsider. So a lot of Jersey love in here, true words, a lot of Jersey love
Word
up
up,
in
Jersey,
here.
stand up.
We got some MC Light love from Emmanuel, who just gave us that amazing definition. Loretta's only, I asked him earlier to expand on a statement he made, and he said that MCs have their own style along with some great lyrics. They have the capability to deliver a message or leave you feeling some type of emotion from their music. Shouts to you, Loretta's only. Tony INC mentioned Bahamadia, which is always a name that does and should come up when we're talking about women MCs. Jean Grey, True Words you mentioned, King Virtue mentioned. Jean Grey is easily close to, I think, 20 studio projects at this point in her career. She's been cooking so long and so consistently. So shout out to her in addition to her comedy career. So yeah, she's a, multi-talented threat. Eternia, yes, shouts to Eternia. Tony INC agreed with you, True, that Beans is dope. Of course, we got to talk about Rhapsody. Rhapsody has been killing it. Gifted Gab, Lady London. Shout out to Damon for mentioning Lady London. I thought Des was throwing a joke and saying me as a Lady MC, but it was just showing appreciation for me now mentioned earlier. So I thought it was going to be some Tillman so soon beef, Des, but I understand what's happening there. So no worries, no worries. Yeah, that's just a few of the names that came up, and thank y'all all for chiming in.
That's dope. That's dope.
D, we having trouble hearing you. Your sound went out for some reason.
Got you. So I
There we
apologize. My mic was off. Had to fix that. But true word. You spoke about lyrics, right? And that's a
Right.
focus that we talk about. Each of us have our own appreciation, and I think many of the audience do as well. You spoke about lyrics. Is there a song, a lyrical outing, or a verse from a woman that you're like, yo, that's the one you need to listen to on this track or that song? Because a lot of times when we talk about lyrics, we always go to like, yo, you remember this verse? Fire, and
Yeah.
then we get into it. So you have one of those?
I can't quote because there's so many. Because
Mm-hmm.
I follow this playlist called "She's Got Bars," right? And it's a
Mm-hmm.
list of so many MCs, but the one that stands out for me the most is "I Am Her" by Ciroc. I mean, she's like, man, this thing is just ridiculous. The saying that, I am that
Mm-hmm.
MC, that female MC. I am her, bro. This is who I am. And that really like brings chills to me, man, because I understand it. I understand exactly where she's coming from. You know what I'm saying? When you put yourself in that element where I am the shit, I'm the person. This is who I am. You know what I'm saying? You're representing yourself like to the fullest. And that song, man, she kills it.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, man.
I gotta just throw in a plug real quick and say shouts to a dope sister. Her name is America, who just celebrated a birthday, but she was the plug because let me tell you something. Last year, right before the pandemic, I was able to bring my esteemed co-host to a Rhapsody concert. It was part of a tour that she was doing last year,
Nice.
and unfortunately, we got there too late. We did not get to see. We got to see maybe one song from Rock. But I'm a huge fan of her music. She is a bars woman of bars women. And yeah, it was a great night for hip hop with Rhapsody being the main act. Of course, she brought up Black Thought on stage. We saw Primo in the crowd. We saw um oh my god, why am I blanking? We saw a bunch of folks in the crowd. But yeah, that was a good
Mhm.
night for hip hop and for women. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great MC.
we saw
Shout
Farrell
out. So
Monch. We saw Farrell Monch in
not
the
Farrah
crowd
Monch.
too.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and there was a few other people.
Nice.
We should have tried to introduce ourselves. We didn't do that. We not that type of people, but uh, we should have probably. Yeah, Black
Yeah,
Thought
yeah,
coat.
definitely.
His fur was ridiculous. Definitely jealous. But so yeah, do you have any other thoughts, any other final comments? 'Cause, we got a couple people we might be bringing in and out of this conversation. We want
Yeah,
to talk
yeah.
about.
Any final thoughts, man, on stop sleeping on the female MCs, man. Like I think there's a lot of people out here, a lot of like hip hop lovers. They're really like turning away from these women, and we shouldn't even see them as women MCs. They're MCs, man. Like
Mm,
these women, yeah, they women, but yo, they, they got skills, man. They got like, yo, I love listening to them. So stop, stop hating and give them a shot. Especially these kind of women, man, because they're just pure MCs, man. Just listen, you know.
uh, you brought up a good point. And before you go, I do want to ask a question. Do you think there is like a bias towards women in hip hop? And if you do think there is, why? Why is that? Because you just made a very important statements, right? They're not women, they're MCs.
They're
You know, like
MCs. I mean, yeah, I
right,
think if coming from me saying that, there is something biased going on. I wouldn't if there was nothing biased going on. Why would I even say that? I mean,
right.
obviously, I do see that because it's just wrong, man. I mean, I think
Mm,
it's just men. We're men. You know what I'm saying? We're masculine. We're nah, we this, we're that, we're the best. We got that inside us. Like we got to give them a chance. Let's come on. Like when will we do that? You know what I'm saying? We have to do
yeah.
it because there's so much talent. So many you dope MCs. Like go check out that playlist. She's got bars. Go check it out by Golden Curations. I think So Soon is familiar with them. Um you just check the list. Listen to these MCs. You know what I'm saying? They dope as hell. Like really dope.
All right. And do you have any final thoughts? Where can we find you, your work? Do you have anything out now, projects?
Yeah, I've been doing singles for a long time. I haven't done no EP in a minute. But yeah, man, I got something coming out. Hopefully, except starting September, then October, November, December, every month after that. Going into the new year and everything like that. I got some features that I want to do that I haven't even caught up with yet, but it will happen because that's what I do. I make sure that shit happen. It has to happen. Um, but yeah, man, yeah, I got a lot of stuff coming out, and you can find me at True Words everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man. And
All
I got
right.
something
So
coming out with So Soon. So Soon, I haven't forgot about you, man. I got you. I just been busy.
okay.
Oh, no worries, brother. No worries. I'm game when you are. So it is all love. I'm looking forward to working with you.
Yo, shout out. I'm gonna go to the comments real quick before we say our goodbyes.
Right.
Demond said we was on CP people time for the concert. Things happen. I think we got stuck on the train traveling. I don't remember how it went down. Stephanie Gale, gotta give it up to Gene Graham, Moo Fresh. Definitely. Black Thought in his coat, Tony I said, yeah, if you were there, you saw the coat when he performed. Ridiculous. Um, Tony INC, the ladies represented this weekend at Legendary Cyphers. I haven't seen or heard anything about it yet. I was busy, but I
Well,
definitely
yeah,
we
let
definitely
me.
gotta talk about that. Go ahead, go
I
ahead,
will
speak on it.
chime in on that really quickly because my peoples who put on legendary ciphers every Friday during the warm weather seasons at Union Square Park, 8 till midnight. Shouts to them. I wasn't there, but I did see on their socials that they did something dope where they had a cast of women from the UK come and film for a documentary that they're working on that is committed to highlighting women MCs. And so they brought out legendary open to all people, genders, skill levels, etc., etc. They're just a very welcoming community for beginner and advanced seasoned MCs. And so they had a bunch of women at their cipher in preparation for this crew coming from UK. So that was this past Friday. You can probably go on their IG and look at footage of that. But shouts to them for always holding it down on a lot of different levels. And in fact, shouts to my man Eli Black, one of the curators of the weekly cipher. I ran into him just last night walking home from Target in my hood. So that's my homie, fellow collaborator, my bro. Yeah, so shout out to Legendary Ciphers. So yeah, I knew exactly what you're talking about. So I appreciate that what they're doing is spreading out in a way that, everybody is learning what they've been doing for years now at Union Square. So shout out to them.
Yeah, definitely. All respect due. I want to say peace to true words, but thank you for coming on. Please feel free to come back
Yeah.
anytime whenever we got a topic. So this is our
Yeah, yeah,
precursor to
definitely.
the top 10 women framework. So we're going to be discussing this a little bit more in depth. Right now, we just feeling out what people think. We're in the chat, we talking to the people, and then when we
Facts,
put
facts.
that framework together, we need to make sure that some of them names that you
Yeah.
mentioned are in this discussion and potentially make it to the top
For
10.
real, man.
So
I
we got to
mean,
make it happen, right?
hell yeah, let's make it happen. And I'm here to help. Well, whatever you guys need. And yeah, man, this is a dope ass platform, man. Y'all keep pushing. I want to give a shout out to King Virtue. You already know. Any beat maker out there, I'm not messing with y'all, man. I got my own beat maker, so
Oh,
I'm gonna let y'all know.
exclusive, exclusive.
Yeah, that's it.
I
It's
respect
over.
that.
We have that on
I
video.
I'm sorry. Now you got me talking more. But I remember in hip hop where they had a producer and a MC, and that sometimes it just over time you just got so many classic songs in that way instead of just
Yeah,
people just
becomes
grabbing beats.
classic. Yeah, it becomes a
Yeah.
classic.
So
It
yeah,
does.
so I respect. I look what you're doing is dope, man. Keep it up, and we'll
Yeah.
talk. And thank you for coming on the show.
Man,
Um,
thank you for having me, man. I appreciate y'all, man, for real.
anytime, anytime. You always got a
Yeah,
spot.
man. Stop messing around. Give these women a chance, man. And they're not even, don't even look at them like women, man. They're MCs. All right. Get it right.
Fire.
MCs.
All right.
Period.
Peace, brother.
Appreciate you, True. Take care, bro.
All right. So, you made a quick comment, and I was gonna ask you something. This is ridiculous. It's so off topic, but you said you was walking home from Target in your hood. So, are we saying Target has invaded the hood now?
Well, I live in a gentrified neighborhood, so I mean, Target was bound to come through. So yeah, I mean, I live in Hell's Kitchen, so
Target,
and now
Target.
and Target, correct, and they are, they're doing, for those of you who don't live in the city, you don't have the pleasure to see Target's new invention, which are the mini Targets. So, outside of New York City, and when I say New York City, I mean like the greater five boroughs. Like you go to Westchester, Long Island, anywhere, you'll have your standard Targets. But like in the city now, they're building mini Targets, and so my neighborhood has one. So yeah. But
So,
I
do they
wanted to
call them
before
bullseyes?
good question.
Anyway, that's
TBV.
the gag.
I wanted no worries. I wanted to chime in real quick on Stephanie Gale. She mentioned a couple of artists, one of which I have started, because I'm usually late to the party. I've started my listening research on, and that is Snow the Product. Super dope Latinx MC from Cali, if I'm not mistaken. I heard her on D Smoke's project, and she went off on that record. So yeah, I have her on my playlist with all intentions to listen and catch up on what I've been missing for the last few years. But yeah, thank you for that, Steph. And then Steph also says, I'm gonna highlight it. Lucy Camp, remember that name. Okay, I will remember and I will look up Lucy Camp. So thank you for that, Steph.
Yeah, and I've heard some Snow the Product as well. Definitely a dope MC. I definitely think if you have the chance, listen. I just threw a couple of comments up in the chat, wanted to make sure people got their shine. Um, STP's latest track, Gay also. I'm saying if I'm saying it wrong, please correct me, Harry the homie. Um, Lucy Camp, you
No,
just
you
mentioned
pronounced it
that.
correctly.
Okay, I'm trying to make sure I'm not disrespecting nobody. So the product is dope. Yes, downtown BK has a mini Target or five. True Road, salute to you, brother. As we wait for our other guests to come in, so what's on your mind? What have you been dealing with in terms of women MCs? Have you rapped with any women that you was like, yo, I need to step my game up? Or just not even that, but you were just impressed by the level of talent. And again, we talking about MCs not because they're women, but because women as shout out to Sarah. She did say this might not be a topic if it wasn't a bias. So that truer words never said.
Yeah, I'm glad you highlighted Sarah's comment because I wanted to highlight that earlier. I think you already did on the screen, but
Hmm.
yeah, I'm glad that you lifted it up in the comments because yeah, that's spot on. To answer your question, yeah, I mean on my two projects, I've had uh, some really talented women MCs or FemCs, depending on how you want to frame it. So on Sony Quarantine, co-executive produced by King Virtue, who did our intro and is currently here in the chat. I have a song called "C'est La Vie." He did not produce that record, but he's the co-executive producer of the project. But so yeah, I have a song called "C'est La Vie" with a triple threat of a talent, Liquid, who's from North Carolina but has lived many years at this point in New York and just running open mics. She's a dope DJ, a dope MC. So yeah, I had the pleasure of having her on my project, which was like a bucket list thing for me because I'd known her for so long and known of her talent for so long. So the fact I was able to snap her up, bring her on the project was super appreciative. And then on my project that I released this year, earlier this year, Sony Muses, I had one of my mentees who finally released her first single. She's a triple threat of her own right, dancer, singer, and MC, and she does all three equally well. And she's on my song Yours on Sony Muses. So yeah, I've been doing this for quite a while and have had the fortune to come across many talents, and certainly in my more aware years have tried to be a lot more intentional about expanding who I collaborate with. So yes, to answer your question, those are some of the women that I've had the fortune to collab with. So
Respect. So I know we asked a couple of questions to our guest. I wanted to know your thoughts on we got true words, apologies. So I wanted to know your thoughts on some of these. Who was your favorite who was your favorite woman MC growing up? Like did you have one actually?
yeah, that's a great. Well, actually, I'd like to ask you that question first, Sarah, and then I'll answer.
Dang, you just flipped the script. That's not
I only
fair.
flipped
But
the
I
script because I just, I want to share this space with you, and I know you have some great takes on this as
look at
a of any sibling who had the exposure, from the different tastes of your many siblings.
all the kind words he's using to get me to fall into the trap. I you know what it is? I had a few that I really liked, and I can name like Lady of Rage, Queen Latifah, MC Light. I could name Roxanne Shante. I could name Muhammadia. I could name a lot of the people that they already listed. I could name Foxy Brown, Little Kim. I can name Eve. I can name a lot of women. I could name MC, Missy Elliott. I could name Lauren Hill. We were listening to, a lot of the artists who were in the spotlight. Um, Rod Digger is one of my favorites. The Brat was probably though, growing up, my favorite woman MC, and that I have to be yeah, she and this is opinion, right? Also, I can't she had like a Snoop vibe when she first came out with Funkdafied and stuff like that. Like real cool, laid back, but nice. You know what I'm saying? So it was always nice with it. Like never like every song she was on, I was like, yo, she's doing songs with Big, you know what I'm saying? And coming off, like not in any way being carried in any way, shape, or form, actually highlighting and making the tracks better. So it's one of those things where I think, and my sister dad, shout out to my sister dad, we both love the Brat. If I'm being honest, we was listening to the Brat together. She was probably my favorite MC, and it was a close. Foxy Brown, Rod Digger was one of my favorites, hands down. I was a big fan of Queen Latifah because I thought she could rap. She had energy and skill in Lady of Rage had a verse on a Redman song that I was like, yo, you know what I mean? Like that type of stuff that you just get caught off guard, and then that's like now you checking for that person because back in the day we couldn't Google everything, we couldn't just stream everything. We had to find who this and what's this person's name, and then we had to look them up and ask people outside. You know what I'm saying? Like go outside and research, go to where the dudes were selling the tapes on the corner and look for the person to see if they on the song and be like, I want that one. So yeah, those are some of the names, but I would say the Brat answers that question.
Yeah, for me, we were talking about this behind the scenes. For me, my favorite woman artist, hip hop artist growing up was Missy. And one of the things that we talked about behind the scene, and this is why for those who are new to the framework, why we have these conversations, because often when there's no framework, it's hard to distinguish favorite from best, artist from MC, and it's important to make these distinctions so that we can all come to the same table and have the same conversation. And so Missy was my favorite hip hop artist growing up, but I didn't listen to Missy to get bars. So I would not put Missy in my top, probably not, honestly, probably not even my top 20 in terms of women MCs. But again,
Mm.
artist, I think she's one of the best hip hop artists from that time period, period, male, female, or otherwise. So that's, just making that distinction, and, so you understand how these frameworks work. And we're talking about MCs, right? So my favorite MCs, and this might have like a asterisk next to it, but Little Kim was one of my favorites. I think that my mom fighting so hard to try to stop me from listening to Little Kim. She had a personal vendetta against Little Kim for some reason that to this day I don't fully know. I think the media just really, the media industry made her this really like, hypersexualized woman. And my mom saw that and just was like, I don't want my son exposed to this. I don't want him bringing home one of these ratchets. And so whatever the reason was, yeah, I had a Little Kim. So I'm gonna tell you a quick funny story. So my stepfather used to work in graphic design, and so his whatever company he worked for at this point in time, I remember having this poster of Little Kim on my wall briefly, but it was on my wall, and it was from the company that they were doing work for the VMAs, and it was Little Kim in like this, like really scantily clad fire put person suit. You can imagine that, right? And my mom had me take it off the wall. She just wasn't feeling it. If now here's the other funny part. At a certain point, my mom stopped pressing me about listening to hip hop curses, probably around 14, 15. But for some reason, if she happened to knock on my door and come in my room and Kim was on, you got to turn that off. So I'm telling you, she had a personal vendetta. I guess I'm old enough now I can ask her what that was all about. But yeah, not something I ever delved into. But anyway, so that was a long tangent. But Kim was always one of my favorites. Foxy, like I said earlier, I was a huge Rod Digger fan for certain. And like I was very aware of the women prior to the ones I mentioned. The ones I mentioned are the ones that I grew up with as a teen in the 90s, because that's when I really truly started to listen to hip hop on my own terms. So the Bahamadia, the Lady of Rages, I know I'm forgetting a bunch of names, but like the MC Lights who came before that, the Queen Latifahs, folks that True Words and Damien have already mentioned, the Salt and Peppers. Like I was definitely familiar with these artists, but I didn't actually collect their work because they had already hit a certain kind of point by the time I started actively listening to hip hop, and it was kind of starting to bring in a new generation of women who I did collect their music and actively listen to. So those are some of the names that I listen to.
Yo, we definitely got to get Mama Soon on to talk about why she didn't want you to listen to to Little Kim. I feel like that whole story would be its own episode. Um, Shout out to Moni Love. True Words brought up a comment. I think he was referring to the brat when he said, would she get with the female MCs to get confirm? You can let me know if I'm wrong. If you weren't speaking about the brat, I actually, if you ask my opinion, but I also opinion can be biased. I think one of the brat is one of the best. She's written for some of the most popular MCs of the time, and I would say yes, I think she can. Um, I always thought she had talent and skill, and I don't think her talent and skill was fad. It wasn't based on the moment. It wasn't like on what's popular now, because she did what she did for over a decade, and she was on hits with Mariah, Missy, and every time she came, it was the brat. You know what I mean? Her originality was there. Her skill, her lyricism was all there. Um, I think she can, and that remains to be seen. Um, but yeah, so soon you wasn't allowed to listen to Lil Kim. And I, there may be reasons for that, and maybe nobody wants to bring home a ratchetness or whatever. We don't know. There are some people who may not want to bring them home, but they may want to bring them to the spot. We don't know. Emmanuel said, I can relate so soon when you said mom didn't want you to listen to Lil Kim. My parents were super strict, and I felt like I had to sneak to listen to hip hop. Yeah, is that a theme? In the comments, let us know if you had parents who was like, yo, you're not playing um that raunchy music, you're not playing that nasty music. Listen. And the funny thing is, we find out as we get older that our parents were listening to suggestive stuff. It just wasn't as overt. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right,
the electric
right.
slide, y'all know what the electric slide is about? When I found that out, I was like, what? You know what I'm saying? Because you got kids listening, dancing. Oh, we're gonna teach them the electric slide. You 4 years old learning that, and now you find out what it's about. That what? There's a lot. Look, if we went back in the day, we did a framework on suggestive music. Freaking Teddy Pendergrass and the OJ's, all of them. We just had a verses with Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isleys. There was a lot of suggestions on there. They were very, very persuasive, let's say, with their music. So I think we could talk about it.
So one thing I wanted to chime in on that's important to mention from this era of the 90s and early 2000s, which was kind of like the prime of my music listening and discovery, is, and I'm curious, let us know in the comments what y'all think about this and if y'all are old enough to remember this, but there was a time where big solo artists were coming out with their own labels. And with those labels, they always tried to identify like that next woman MC. And ultimately, more often than not, they were being basically fashioned after whoever was successful in that moment because unfortunately, the way the industry was set up, we know without having to go into all the salacious details that like they will be making for a few at a time. And I'm thankful for the way things are now. I mean, there's a lot less on commercial radio. I barely listen to commercial radio anymore for this, but we know that there's many more unique ways that we can discover artists now. These conversations allow us to discover new artists. I've already heard the names of some artists just today alone that I'm definitely anxious to check out. But so I'm thinking about some of the other artists whose music I used to listen to and collect. I'm thinking about DTP with Shauna. I didn't collect her albums, but like when she was on DTP compilations, when she was spitting on Luda records, I was a fan of hers. Charlie Baltimore. I
I
might
was a
have had
fan of Charlie
Charlie
Baltimore.
Baltimore's album. I might have had her album. I don't remember for a hundred
Left
percent.
Eye, Left Eye as
Left Eye,
well.
Virtue mentioned Left Eye earlier. I know you're a
Hmm.
big Left Eye fan.
Yeah, she was dope.
And so Eve, why did nobody mention Eve? All of
I
y'all need to
mentioned
get off
Eve.
my
I
show now.
just
You didn't
mentioned
mention Eve.
Eve.
You didn't
Yes,
mention
I
Eve. You,
did. When I was talking about the different artists, after I said Foxy and Kim, I mentioned Eve. Don't try to violate me. Of course I meant anyway. Emmanuel JP, I'm gonna go to the comments. She said, yes, some of those Haitian songs my parents listened to in front of us was explicit. I didn't even realize until I got older what the lyrics really meant. Yo, if that is that not a fact on top of a fact? When you listen to reggae, half of them songs you was listening to at 6, 7, 8 years old, your parents was listening to, you can't even say them words in front of your parents. They will still yell at you. It's crazy. That's kind of real. Thank you for sharing that because that is definitely a thing. Like, yeah, oh, shout out to Des Does Nails. If you want to get your nails done, hit her up. She's actually dope with it. Follow us on IG. Put your IG in the chat actually if you're in the Georgia area. Hit her up.
I just highlighted a comment from Loretta's only that disappeared, but he said my mama took my word of mouth CD and she was the one that brought it for me.
That's kind of funny when you think about like um yeah, I wonder why. Yo, you know what you got? Loretta's only. If you get the opportunity, if you can ask your moms why, yo, please come back and let us know next week, because that would be hilarious. We need to start finding out the answers to these things. One of the things I was able to do when I visited my mother, she like we're from Brooklyn, but she lives in Georgia now. I was able to interview her and I was inspired to do that from a documentary that So Soon actually shot. You could check it out on YouTube if you need to, but to make a long story short, and I was able to ask her some of the questions that you as a kid you think about, but then you get older and you forget. But it's one of those things where it's like we don't know who our parents are or were before they had us. We don't really know what they was listening to and what their parents was doing, buying them stuff and taking it away, telling them they can't listen to this song and that song, and they was probably sneaking out to go party and dance, and then they looking at us like, don't do this, don't do that. It's like, yo, you was doing it, same thing. Don't even try it. Just look. I'm your child, and if you know yourself, then you already know what I'm doing. Like, don't be mad. Accept it. Uh, but yeah, no. I think it would be great to find out like why. We should all be just if we can. Some of us may not be able to respect, but speak to our parents. Be like, yo, why did you do that? And just hear their
Well,
reasoning.
we know C. Dolores Tucker. Maybe not everybody knows who that is, but C. Dolores Tucker was somebody who was actively working to shut hip hop down altogether because she only saw the one-sided components of the violent lyrics. So I think a lot of our parents probably heard about that, even if they didn't know who she was, and the way our music has historically been just talked about. You know what I'm
Typecasted,
saying?
talked
Yeah,
about,
yeah, yeah.
typecasted, stereotyped, hated on. Um, so yeah, I know we've been talking a lot about it. We had some guests who couldn't make it, but I want to also ask. So we are talking about MCs, right? And it was statement made that MCs doesn't differentiate in certain ways. And I wanted to know, is there something that you feel that all MCs have in common? All great MCs, like people that we are like, they're up there, they're dope. Everybody should hear this. They're fire. Listen to that verse. The stuff that we talk about. Is there something that all great MCs have in common?
I just took a moment to type that in the chat. I'm going to show it on the screen because, of course, if you are familiar with the framework, we ask these questions not so that Damien and I can hear each other talking back and forth, but because we want to hear from y'all what y'all think. Yeah, I think this is an extension of our question earlier about like what defines an MC for you, but I think it's another way to ask it to kind of flesh some of those answers out. For me, they gotta be lyrical, they gotta be versatile, they have to have dope flow. Let me backtrack. When I say versatile, they have to be versatile in subject matter. So I want to hear them talk about more than just one thing. And I would say that for any of the largely commercial MCs of our previous generation and the current generation, and the ones who are like heavily marketed
Mm-hmm.
and sexualized, I would love to see their versatility as well as the versatility of the most barsy bars lyricist, male, female, or otherwise. So I think the versatility and what you talk about is super important. True Words mentioned originality. Des mentioned an imagination.
Mm.
Emmanuel, do you mean replayability, like like that you listen to it and you want to hear it again? Let us know if that's what you're referring to. I want to make sure I'm understanding what you mean by playability. I want their beats to be dope. I want to know that when they get on records with other people, that they're just as dope, if not doper than everybody else who's on the record. I think aesthetic is important. Yeah, I could go on and on, but those are some of the things to me that are really important. And thank you, Emmanuel. I see your comment. You're saying yes. So yes, I agree. Replayability for anything I listen to is key. Like I have peers who are like super talented artists who I hear their music and I like it, but it doesn't have the replayability for me. And so
Mhm.
it just means, okay, it's a good song. I know it's out there, but I'm not actively wanting to listen to it again. So yes, thank you again for that, Emmanuel, because replayability is super important. How about you? What are some of those things that are necessities for an MC from you?
Yeah, I think it's always about shout out to Prop moving the crowd. I think that's important, and I think how they move the crowd is with their words, right? So I always appreciate a MC that can write and say things in like they can talk about very big and in-depth personal introspective things in very simple ways. And it's not simple as in ABC rhyme forms and things like that, but you can take complex ideas and make them very relatable and very simple. You know, an example, I'm trying to think of an example. I mean, one of my favorite songs, Dear Mama, and I know I'm quoting a guy right now, and it may not be the most appropriate, but um, she in the kitchen trying to fix us a hot plate type of that is very simple. It's nothing exquisite or like multisyllabic creative or metaphorical. It's a very simple thing, but when you hear it you know exactly what that means if you've ever had that kind of experience, and it hits deep. So it's like, how deep can you actually impact or affect someone listening to your work? And I think great MCs will be able to do that in a very consistent way. And shout out to True Words. He said, I really respect style. Me too. That's another one. I feel like and that I think goes into originality, like you said. Like I would say the Brat style when she came out to today, I think has always been the Brat. The same with Missy, the same with Eve, the same with Kim and Foxy. They have similarities in some songs and content, but if you listen to like their lyrics, it there is some separate. Yo, King Virtue, thank you for mentioning both of those two. Remy Ma and Lady Luck. We should have actually brought those two up earlier. Both dope. Both are, in my opinion, original. Definitely gotta speak on that. I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and you know, friend of the show, and they asked me what might be the best diss record ever. And I'm like, Remy Ma's Sheether might be in that conversation. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it's not, but it might need to be in that conversation as a diss record, right? When we talk about diss records, there's a whole separate framework. But yeah, I would say those things matter a lot to me: the style, the originality, the lyrics, but also I like versatility because in not just content, but I like MCs who can like give you different flows and patterns and it still sound like it's them, where it's not like, oh, I'm taking this flow to sound like the other artist. No, this when I use this flow you still get me. So the originality is always there. That's also important. um
I wanted to add one more thing in terms of the things that are must haves for a dope
mhm,
MC. Consistency.
mhm,
Like, so when I'm thinking about an MC, again, woman, male, or otherwise, when I'm thinking about them over a long period of time, if they have two, three, four, five, six, seven, however many bodies of work, like if I get a fire album from somebody from their debut, and then they go into this like I want to shift gears and do some completely different, as an artist, you have every right to do that. But if
Mm,
I'm listening to you as an MC, I still want to hear them bars. You know what I'm saying? And so that consistency over time is really important. You might hear somebody a lot of times. I started to when I stopped collecting CDs and MP3s became the thing, and now streaming is the thing. A lot of how I've discovered new artists is either through word of mouth, somebody else recommending me to them, or if they've collaborated on a project of somebody that I like. And the perfect example that I can give to that, again, I mentioned earlier, but Snow the Product. I'd been hearing
mm,
her name through conversations and on street and social media and so on and so forth. But when I finally sat and listened to D Smoke's album, I heard her. She appears on, I forget the name of the song, but she appears on a song that's on the extended version of the album. And I was like, oh, so now I'm finally listening to her, and she just goes off. So now I'm naturally excited to listen to more of her content, right?
mm.
Now, if from that collab, I'm excited to listen to content, but if over time I'm listening to a bunch of songs and I'm seeing that there's fall off, then I don't think that, you can say, okay, she's a dope MC, but the consistency is important because it really truly demonstrates your ability to stay putting out high level content.
That's a fact. There's a great question up there. I want to pose it. Shout out to King Virtue for mentioning the battle between Lady Luck and Remy Ma, and he said people should go check it out bar for bar. I definitely agree. Um, Mrs. Ortiz, if you perform lyrics created by a ghostwriter, are you still considered an MC? Do you want to take that one, sir?
That's a tough question, but what I will say earlier when you asked me who some of my favorites were growing up, and I mentioned Little Kim, I did mention, we might have to say that name with an asterisk because, it's known that Biggie wrote lyric for her. You might know this better than me, Jamie, and I'm sure people in the chat can chime in and confirm that she may have had other ghostwriters after Biggie was deceased, maybe even while he was alive. So I don't want to get heavy in speculation. Whatever is true, and whatever. But does it take away from her score as an MC or the way we look at her as an MC in this example? Yeah, I think it does. I think does it take away from the enjoyment of or how we enjoy the artist? Drake is known to have some ghostwriters, a ghostwriter. And I'm not to say that I'm a huge Drake fan, but like, does hearing that information take away from the ability to enjoy? It depends on why you're listening. In my personal opinion, I think that if we're having a discussion about top women MCs, which is what we're doing, the known confirmed information of a ghostwriter brings down the score. So I think that they can still be considered an MC because there's something to be said about how you present the lyrics, right? And you can
Mm,
have ghosts, you know what I'm saying? Like people showing you how to perform, but you could practice that forever and still not execute. You could not execute when you're in the studio, when you're on the stage. So these factors are also important, but certainly if there's known writers when you're not writing your own, because and just, because I would love to hear your thoughts on this too, Damien, but I'll just quickly wrap this up by saying that like, that is the one thing that when you think about hip hop, not rap, but hip hop, that is one thing I always think about is the pride that hip hop artists have in writing their own lyrics. It's acceptable in every music genre. It's known that people have collaborators, writers, and so on and so forth. But hip hop is very prideful on the ability of writing your own lyrics. So yes, it has to be taken in consideration. How much credit can we give any quote unquote MC if they're not doing 100% of their writing? That's
well,
my
I,
take.
I, I would say I definitely think it drops your score, it drops your standing. You can't walk around and say you are the best or the greatest if what you may be recognized as the best and greatest for is not even yours. Um, I would say that it's very important to differentiate between a singer whose talent is their ability to sing or a musician whose talent is their ability to play an instrument. If you told me Jimi Hendrix had somebody else playing an instrument for him, it's like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? So in hip hop, the rapper or the MC, they are the one on the mic saying the words. And what was one of the biggest taboos in hip hop that I grew up on, I'll say, was no biting. You wasn't biting, you wasn't stealing lyrics, you wrote your own, you were original, you wasn't copying other people, and that was important. Originality was a element to me of what makes a great MC, and it will always be that. And it doesn't mean people aren't great if they have help. And there's a difference between support, help, and somebody ghost writing. If somebody, if I my book, if somebody said, "Oh, Damien, instead of using this word, you could use that word," and I'm like, that's a good idea. So I took out this word and replaced it with that word. It doesn't mean this person wrote for me. Now, if somebody says, "Damien, I got this great piece, you should put it in your book," and I'm like, "That's fire," and I changed 7 words and put it in the book, nah, son, they wrote that. That's their work. I am now taking credit for it. That's a very different thing to me. And we want to I want to go back to the chat real quick. Art is collaborative. I agree with art. When we say emceeing and other things is very different. Like, we can people can work on creating a story together. People can work on creating a song together. That is a piece of work. But like when you're talking about writing, writing is an individualistic kind of thing, and that's what MCs did. They wrote their lyrics, or they thought about, they came up with the lyrics themselves and memorized them, and that's very important to differentiate between what that is and something else. King Virtue, Easy E never wrote one word of what he spit. That's true. I think they said Dr. Dre. No. I'm sorry. Ice Cube wrote like their first 2 albums. Ice Cube, DOC, a few other people might have written songs for NWA as a group. Um, but yeah, I forgot about Remy B and um, neither did Dre. There's a few. Oh, Loretta's only said, what about Kaya, Trina, and Jackie? Yes, shout out to all of them. There's so many names that we could go into. I actually want to get into this like rapid fire round because we're about to close out the show. We wanted to just start this conversation with women in hip hop, but I wanted to ask, like, how did people feel the first time you heard songs like Super Duper Fly Rain by Missy? You know what I mean? Like, how did that hit you when you first heard Sock It to Me? How did it first hit you when you heard Crush on You by Little Kim? When you first heard a song by like even UNITY by Queen Latifah, or Just Another Day. Just Another Day was one of them joints. Like it hit me the same way. And this song is probably not, I'm not comparing the two, but when you think about Today Was a Good Day by Ice Cube, and I think about Just Another Day by Queen Latifah, they hit me similarly. Now, Today Was a Good Day, has the Isleys and all that other stuff. So there's nostalgia. There's so many different things going. But I wanted to just ask these questions. How does those songs hit you? You know what I mean? When you heard It's Funny How Money Changes Situation by Lauryn Hill, when that dropped, you know what I mean? Lost One. How how did you feel when you heard Push It by Salt and Pepper? How did you hear when you heard Roxanne's Revenge by Roxanne Shante, or when you heard Let Me Blow Your Mind by Eve, or when you heard like Love Is Blind, or when you heard The Baddest by Trina, or when you heard Ain't No Nan, you know what I'm saying? Like when you heard Roughneck by MC Light, when you heard just so many songs.
This is
Just
the
and I'm
longest
doing this rapid
rapid
fire.
fire question ever.
Yo, I'm because the list is long. What about that? Queen Pen, A Party Ain't a Party, but it's a long list. I can't believe you only said Missy one time. I said a few names. I was going off names. Like, look at the hate. Look, I'm gonna shut up. You know what? You go so soon because I can't speak because I'm getting critiqued on everything right now. Here, this is what we do. This is what we got to deal with. We love y'all in the comments though. Y'all, we love y'all. Thank you. True words. Thank you. Some positive, all classics. That's what I'm talking about. When those songs hit you when you first heard them, like, how did y'all feel? How did y'all react? I think that also is a vibe. That's an energy. That's a mood that we got to think about when we think about women in hip hop and the impact that they've had over the years. Even women who featured, You know, we talk about Kim's features, we talk about Missy's features, we talk about Foxy's features, all that. Sorry, I said I was gonna be quiet so soon. Take over, sir. Since I was talking, the rapid fire was too long and all that. I was trying to show respect and I got cut off. Wow, this is what we're dealing with now.
Nah, shout out to you. We gonna have to bring Guinness in here to see if you broke the world record for the longest question. But you did mention a lot of classics. You bringing up a lot of nostalgia. Got me out as he's preparing to type something ridiculous in the chat. Um, this is a conversation that's going to continue over the next couple of weeks as we get to our top women MCs list. If you're interested in joining us live on the framework, then shoot us a DM on IG. Send us a message under this because once we're done here, it's going to go live on YouTube, and you can always watch if you missed some of the beginning or had to leave early and wanted to catch the end. And leave us a comment if you'd love to join and chime in to the conversation because, like I said, this is going to be happening over the next couple of weeks. We appreciate y'all tuning in. If you have not already done so, take a listen to King's Disease 2, particularly honing on Nobody by Nas, featuring the first hip hop verse from Miss Lauryn Hill in over a decade. Let us know what you thought about it. Be on the lookout this Friday. We will be dropping our next short form content, as we like to call it in the creative content world, where we'll be talking about the song and giving our framework review. So listen to it beforehand, or maybe you want to hear our review first, and then maybe it'll entice you to listen. But if you listen to it beforehand, you can comment in the you can let us know in the comments if you rock with it or not. And again, as always, thank y'all for your continued and unwavering support. Thank you to all of our new viewers, and make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and share because we coming back with more and more hits.
Oh, you done? I can speak now. Am I allowed to talk?
Actually, not yet. I also want to shout out everybody who's in here. Let me go to the very top of the chat so I don't miss. No, I'm messing around. Yeah, I'm done.
Nah, I appreciate you. Yo, shout out to everybody. This was great. Thank y'all for being a part of this. Everything he said, I validate and I second. We also have other short form content. Our reaction to the verses, the last verses that came out, Locks versus Dipset. So please stay tuned for that information. Please stay tuned for our reaction video to King's Disease, two-track Nas and Lauryn Hill called Nobody. Um, and be on the lookout for next week, 7 p.m., our next framework, where we will be introducing a list of the top maybe 15 or so women MCs in hip hop and the framework that we will be using to do the live scoring to try to come up with this top 10 list that we want to present and make sure y'all are here to make sure that we get it right. Understood? So we need y'all to make sure we get it right, or we might come up with some garbage, and y'all might be like, "Yo, I don't know about them dudes," but y'all know us. Come talk to us. We here. Hit us up on social media at Framework Friday, and hit us up in the comments and hit us up in the chat. Shout out to Dawn. Shout out to Emmanuel. Thank y'all. 1 hour. We'll be here next week. What do what's something that they can look forward to? One thing that they should look forward to for next week.
I mean, one of the things that we do the best on our framework shows is working with y'all to determine who is deserving of a potential top 10 spot. So please make sure y'all come ready to look at some attributes, some of the things that came up today on what makes a good MC. Come with some thoughts about, who those MCs are, who you think are deserving, not who your favorites are, but who you think really deserves to be in the discussion for a top 10 MC. And yeah, as always, be on the lookout for the framework next Wednesday and every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My shouts to my co-host who is showing off his design. I don't think he's showing off the fashion as much as he's showing off that he designed it, but he designed the amazing framework t-shirts that both he and I are wearing, which will soon be in hat, sweatshirt, and hoodie form and for sale. Be on the lookout for that. Just a plug. But yeah. Oh, and my bad. Okay. Yep. Okay. Sorry. Let's go out on this note because part of being a framework is getting it right. Um, OG Carl from Queens mentioned Sha Rock from Funky Floor plus one more. And yeah, so thank you for mentioning that. I don't think anybody mentioned her prior to you, so you get that. Ha ha ha.
Funny, now we got King Virtue talking about let him hear that outro, which he should have been to hear it when it was the intro, but we are signing off. Framework out.